Hey everyone, welcome to the conversation. I appreciate you tuning in. And if I look a little extra amped today, well, that's because I get to welcome one of the very best in the funny business to the show today. That's right. His relatable, adult smart, family friendly brand of comedy is truly one of a kind. So please welcome to the conversation comedian Don Friesen. Don, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
You got it, Don. I'll tell you, I've been looking forward to this. And, there's so many things that I'm looking forward to talking with you about, Don. But one thing I have to bring up first
Sure.
is your Showtime special, Ask Your Mom. It is flat out one of the best I've ever seen. And
Really?
I can't help but think that, there's probably people out there that are maybe discovering you or rediscovering you because it was recently released on YouTube. And man, it's looked like it's really resonating with a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we shot it. It's not new. I mean, it was shot
Right.
back in 2012 and still holds up. We took a few minutes out for relevance and it was on Showtime and I don't think many people saw it. It only got about a dozen airings. It was kind of a it was just one of those things where they weren't sure where to put it and but everyone who's seen it loves it. So I'm glad it's out there for the public now.
No, absolutely. And I have to tell you that everyone that I've shared the link with, because I've been sharing it with as many people as I can, first thing
Nice.
I get back is a text that says, that was awesome. He's hilarious. When's the next special? So, there's things I want to talk to you about,
Yeah.
some things that may be in the works coming. But before we
Yeah.
look ahead, I kind of wanted to look back a little bit first, Don. And that is,
Sure.
you've been doing this for a long time. Like you said, that special that we just talked
Yeah.
about, that was made a while ago.
Yeah.
But when did you first realize that you had this ability to make people laugh?
Uh, well, so I could always make people laugh one-on-one, and in small groups my whole life. So I always knew I was pretty funny. I had a good sense of humor. But in college, I took an improv class and just on a whim, and I didn't know, I was so nervous and I didn't know if I could make people laugh, from a stage. In college, I took an improv class on a whim and didn't know if I could make people laugh in public. Didn't know if I could even had the nerve to, try and make people laugh in public. And right from the very beginning, I was so nervous, but I was surprised how many laughs I was getting, and it was just thrilling. It was just amazing. So one-on-one, I was making the whole room laugh, and
Wow.
so I just couldn't get enough of it. I was a business major at the time, and I just ended up finishing as a business major, but I really just didn't spend any time in my classes. I started an improv troupe at USC, and we started doing improv shows in the park. And all these years later, like I didn't want to say how many years, but probably 30 years later, the group that I started is still going
Wow.
and they have several prominent alums from Saturday Night Live, and so it really took on a life of its own over the years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible. And I'll tell you, Don, I have to admit that over the years, I've been a singer, I've been a drummer, I've done a lot of things musically, I've given speeches, presentations in front of a large group of people. But I don't think I was ever as scared as I was at my first graduation show for the stand-up comedy class I took back in early 2025. I
yeah,
was I was beyond nervous, and I realized like
right.
there's no band, there's no chords, there's no, progression to help me remember the words. It's
Right.
just me, this microphone, and all those people. So I commend you
In
for
your life too, and you
yeah,
can't
yeah,
you can't blame the writers,
yes,
you know.
yeah,
You can't
exactly.
like it literally is all you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's exhilarating and scary all at the same
Yeah.
time. So I could definitely relate. But I'm curious, since you started when you did, was there a moment that you kind of realized, like, okay, I'm taking these business courses, but you know what? This is the path for me. Was there kind of an aha moment when you realized, like, I got to go for this?
Absolutely. It was probably in the first 2 weeks of class. I
Wow.
literally just I was selling commercial real estate before I went back to college, and during college I was selling commercial real estate, and I was very young. I had like this huge financial future laid out for me, which was also odd because I never. you know, I, as a kid, nobody in my family ever had a professional, job. Nobody went to college. Nobody,
Mm.
they were all like truck drivers, bus drivers, driving the train, So it was odd that I kind of like fell into sales and had some mentors. And so commercial real estate was really going to be this big thing. I would have probably been very wealthy right now. But I did it for a couple of years and it wasn't me. I wasn't happy doing it. I didn't like the cutthroat nature of it. And
Mm.
I just decided, once I saw that I could make people laugh, I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to do. If I go, I'm broke now, so I'm already broke. So, I know how to live that lifestyle. I know how to live on nothing, and I'll do this until I can't do this.
Wow.
So,
Wow, that's phenomenal. And I can't imagine, like, even though when you're closing a nice deal and you're at the settlement table and you get your commission check, I'm sure that's pretty thrilling and exhilarating, but I don't think it can match the thrill of seeing those people laugh at your material live.
yeah, it just felt right. Once I realized, this is something that I do have a knack for. I do have a gift for. I didn't realize. I discovered it latently in life, but this is something that can feel good about.
Yeah.
I'm contributing something. I didn't feel like I was in the real estate thing. I was
Mm.
like, not against anybody who sells real estate, but it just wasn't, it didn't feel very satisfying to me. It was just a path that was open to me.
Mhm.
And I was going down it for the wrong reason. So
No, and it's good for you, especially at that young age, to recognize it and also to have the guts, to go for it. Because like you said, you're not going to be making a whole lot of money out of the gate, and in many cases, maybe not for a long
yeah.
time. So, when and so when you look back, let's say at those first couple of years, you're getting started, kind of getting your feet
Right.
under you. Look, I've heard so many different stories about people kind of searching for their voice and how long it takes them, to find their voice as a comedian. But when you look back at those early years, what would you say? It's a two-part question. What are some of your favorite memories, and what are maybe some of the lessons that you learned?
So I think of it in two different kind of buckets of the early years. I think of the open mics in LA, which were just horrible. But you learn, it's just a challenge, right? We never had an audience. It was coffee shops and bars and laundromats and whatever you could. Maybe you could get three or four of the other comics to come in while they're waiting for their sets, but people weren't there to see comedy. Um, I was not very good. I was medium good at a lot of different forms of comedy, but I was not great at any one style. I was an impressionist in my early years. I was very, I went through kind of a Woody Allen phase. I went through like a Dennis Miller phase. And, I could mimic all these different styles and I learned how to be funny, writer, and different, but none of them were like me.
Huh.
And then one day, well, okay. So I started telling stories about my life
Hmm.
and characters in my life, and that seemed to work. And then I just was watching all kinds of comics, and I learned that I could do a lot of caricatures. So I followed Dana Carvey. Robin Williams had that kind of like fast paced,
Yeah.
he's short setups. So I took some of that, and then I saw Brian Regan for the first time,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, it all opened up to me. I mean, I realized, okay, this guy's working clean, which I wasn't at the time, not particularly. And he's making fun of himself, which I love. The biggest laughs I ever got in my whole life were making fun of myself, right? And nobody was doing that in LA. It was a very kind of dog eat dog open mic scene. And once I started like, turning the humor on myself and being just more affable in myself, um, people loved it. I mean, the reaction I got was twice as good as anything I ever got before. And I realized, okay, this is the convergence of who I am and what the audience likes in me, sees in me.
Wow,
So
that's amazing, Donna. You brought up something there that I want to go back to if we could, and that's that, you weren't you weren't necessarily clean all the time, but you started, writing clean humor, and obviously one of the things I said right up front is because I've seen your humor described in those ways as adult smart but family friendly, and that is a tightrope, I think, to
yeah.
really walk. So I'm curious as to how are you able to do that in the way that you do, kind of balance both of those attributes, if you will.
Yeah, I just, I saw it as a challenge. And I just decided, if I can't make it funny without cursing, then it's not funny enough. So
Hmm,
I just decided I it really just relies on a lot more editing and rewriting,
hmm,
uh, a lot of different changes of pace. I mean, I kind of look at my style. I kind of equate myself to a starting pitcher who
hmm.
can doesn't it's not the reliever who has that one great slider that you can't hit and throws it over and over and over. You know, I have a bunch of different angles, I have a bunch of different approaches. I'm always keeping people off guard. So I try and, give a variety of styles in my act, but they all kind of work together.
No, they do. And there's another aspect of what you do and how you do it that I'm curious about. And that's, you brought up the analogy of being a starting pitcher.
Right.
Well, I like to say that, if you're throwing a complete game from the first inning to the ninth inning, as a comedian, you're throwing strikes. Like there's no lulls. There's a lot of
Right.
comics out there where I'll kind of suffer through the lulls to get to the good part type of thing.
Right.
But from start to finish, set up punch, the physical stuff that you throw in there, like
Right.
what does your writing process look like? You said there was more editing involved, trying to be clean, but how are you able to do it at the pace that you do it? Like what does it take from a writing standpoint?
I'm just constantly recording my sets and listening
Hmm.
and every time, I think that's good, but it could be better. It could be better. I can add this, I can add this, tighten this, tighten this. I'm constantly, I will once in a while, I'll tell a joke that I've told for 15 years and I'll listen to it. I'm like, I could make that a little bit better.
Huh.
I can cut out these three words. I can add this little expression. I can add this little physicality. Tags, I do tags and callbacks like crazy. So that's just kind of over time that's become my stock and trade. It's how I approach it.
And I have to admit, Don, before a year and a half ago, when I took that class, I don't know that I realized or would have realized or appreciated how difficult that is to add those tags, to come back for those callbacks, to all those different things to come together and to deliver it in the way that you do. I have such a newfound respect for everyone since I was trying to come
Right.
up
It's
with
hard to
5 minutes,
yeah.
and it was like forever trying to cut it down, cut it down, cut it down,
Yeah,
cut it
yeah,
down.
yeah.
So I can't even believe, like it just like I said, newfound respect and appreciation in
Right.
addition to just enjoying it for what you do, like I said, from start to finish, because there's very few that can do it, in that way and not have
Right.
those lulls where you're like waiting for the good part. So
I
I,
appreciate it. It's
sure,
very
no,
a comic that I respect a lot was helping me with my special, tightening some things up. And his comment was, he said it was a very dense act,
huh,
you know, which is a great way of putting it because
wow.
it's just packed in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I try.
you know what? I think that is the best way to sort of summarize what I was trying to say in terms of,
Right.
from start to finish. That is exactly it. Like if you've got to go grab a drink or something, you better hit that pause button because you're going to miss a couple before you get back. So
Right, right.
that is an admirable thing. Now,
Thank you.
one thing, Don, that I've noticed and I've kind of heard from a lot of people I've talked to who have been in the business at or around the same time that you have or time frame that you
Right.
have is that the business has changed. So,
Yeah.
from your perspective, how has the business changed since you got into it, and how have you changed to adapt to it?
Hmm. Well, I guess the biggest obvious change is social media
Hmm.
in terms of how we promote the business. I don't know if the craft has changed as much as the business has changed, right?
Okay.
Are you talking about the business part of
Yeah,
the
I think that
business?
really it ends up being
I
pretty
mean,
much the business part of it more so than the craft. You're right.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot more comedians than when I started. When I started on the road, it was I started in a down cycle because I started in 1995,
Hmm.
and in the early 90s, comedy was people were claiming comedy was dead. I mean, it had gone through the initial like, um, the initial phase where it was like crazy, like it was rock and roll. Like
Yeah.
you open a door anywhere and say there's comedy, and you would have people lining up around the block, right? And comics would get paid twice as much. And when there were half as many comics, and you just pick up your phone and your calendar's full, and they would go, they would get on the Tonight Show, and suddenly they had a sitcom and a holding deal, and that was the part that I missed, the 80s, right? And then when I got in, they said, oh, there were 4,000 comedy clubs 3 years ago. Now there's 2,000. And, comedy clubs were not doing that well. Some were, but most of them weren't. And what I noticed is you know, that since then, it has only grown, like not rapidly, but it's grown steadily since I've been in the business. But it's a much leaner model.
Hmm.
You have to, you don't make as much uh, as the heyday, and you have to be a good business person. You can't just throw up a comedy show sign. You have to know how to market it. You know how to do customer service. You have to be
Yeah.
good at business. And if you're good and you're not going to make a fortune, you're going to make a modest profit.
Hmm.
So that seems to be, I'm generalizing, but
Sure.
if you had to give my quick, back of a napkin um, summary, that's kind of, but um, but it's still great. I mean, there's always room for great comics, and there's always a way to make it work. But the way we promote it now is mostly through social media, and for good and bad. I'm not a big fan, to be honest. That's why I resisted social media all these years. But now that I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, you win.
Yeah.
I've got to get in here. I got to post stuff every week. I got to build fans up that way because I was building them club to club, and
Sure.
it's so much longer.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's one of the things as you're saying that I was thinking about with the social media. I've had a few people on the show who are very well known. It's not like they may not be in the biggest tier, but they're well known. People know who they are. But they've
Mhm.
actually lost gigs because their social media following wasn't where the club owner or whoever
Right,
wanted it to be. So I think to your point, it's something that whether you want to do it or not, you kind of have to do it, and then you have to evolve as they keep kind of changing the rules and moving the goalposts with social
right.
media too. So I can't help but think though that you can take anyone, you can take your specials, whether it's inexplicable, whether it's, ask your mom or just any clips from you performing live. Those 30, 40, 50-second clips are going to be gold on social media. I can't help but think.
Well, I'm hoping we'll see. We were talking about before. I just got my first clip to hit 1 million, so that was great. It's still going. So
Yeah, and I
um,
noticed I noticed even with the special on YouTube, I looked the other day and it was closing in on 150,000 views and it's only
yeah,
been
I
out a
think
few weeks, right?
we're about 2 or 3 days from getting on 150,000. Yeah. So we had no advance promo on that or anything. So we just, we put it up, and so hopefully we're setting ourselves up for the big special.
Oh, wait a minute for the big special. So there's something in the works?
Yeah, I've got a new special. We taped it. It's in the can. We're pitching it around. Hopefully you'll see it on Netflix or Hulu or, you know, ESPN 7 or Telemundo or National Geographic. Um, who knows? Or YouTube. Who knows? It could end up on YouTube if it doesn't sell. But yeah, we taped it, and I'm very proud of it. It came out great. There is a story to it. Um, it was going to be called Lesson Learned. That was the working title. when we
Hmm.
went into the taping. Um, but during rehearsal on stage, right before, like a couple hours before the show, we built a warped wall, basically from American Ninja Warrior. I don't know
Okay,
if
yeah.
anybody knows the show. Yeah, the 13-foot warped wall
Yeah,
curves
yeah.
up and you run up it. So that was the surprise because I have a bit in the special about maybe 5 or 6 minute bit about wanting to be an American Ninja Warrior. It's very physical. I climb on the stool and there's all kinds of stuff, right? So it's kind of a signature piece right in the middle of the set. And for the finale, I was going to come back out and take my bow, and then the curtain opens up, and this 13-foot massive wall slides up behind me, and I climb it, and I hit the buzzer, and there's smoke and pyro, and I say, "Thank you, good night," and I do a 17-foot mic drop, and that was like the big fun campy ending, right? But what happened was we were rehearsing right before the show, and I ran up the wall and I took the last little push off leap, and I felt this on the back of my foot. I heard a loud pop.
Oh
It
no.
sounded like somebody hit my ankle with a baseball bat.
Oh.
I tore my Achilles and had to rush to urgent care to get a little makeshift cast. They can do these casts in like 10 minutes, the you know, temporary cast. I put my sock over it. I was calling up. I'm like, they're like, people are here to see the show. Are you are you gonna be back yet? I'm like, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So yeah, I was so it's funny because in urgent care, I guess it doesn't matter if you have a show coming up. That like they were here first. Yeah, but I have a show.
Yeah.
I have
I don't think that's on the
700
clipboard.
people waiting to see me. So uh, I got back just in time, changed the clothes, and thought about like, oh, how am I explaining this? Nobody knows why I'm coming out on crutches. Um, so I was able to ditch the crutches. I felt better once I got on stage than I thought I would. Did the show. We're calling it Break a Leg, and
Oh my God.
now the show has a story.
Oh my God. Well, and I was going to say, even if, there's quite a bit of physicality even in your prior specials and prior, acts I've seen of you. So even without
Right,
the wall, there's still a lot of movement and bending and different things that you're
right.
doing. I'm assuming you must have been running on adrenaline at that point.
Yeah, yeah. I was, and we did it in one take.
Wow.
We didn't come back and do any cutbacks. I think we probably should have. There's a couple things I would like to, but I think everyone was so thrown by what happened that, and when I actually climbed on the stool with my, I did the bit anyways, um, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to or not, but I was like, well, if I hit a wall, if I get stuck, we'll just cut it. I'm gonna try. And everyone backstage in the booth when they were like, "Is this crazy? Is he still doing this bit?" So
Oh my God.
yeah. So, anyways, yeah, it came out great. And then we did this great opening segment in black and white with Frank Caliendo did the Morgan Freeman voice
Oh
as the
wow.
narrator, and he's perfect. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
he does Morgan Freeman better than Morgan Freeman. Uh,
He does so many people better than they do themselves.
yeah, yeah. So we tell the story in the beginning, and then we book in it with a little segment at the end, and it's a whole. It became this whole complete piece, you know. So
Wow. So, and you're in the process of shopping that now, you said?
yes, yes.
So has that part of the process changed, as well? I'm assuming that it has, or maybe there's more outlets, but I'm also assuming they're getting more submissions. It's got to be kind of crazy out there.
I don't know if I've ever tried to sell anything before, so I can't really speak to that.
Okay.
But I will say I think it's constantly changing. The players are changing, the dynamics are changing. It's, one minute you have not enough comedy. We all want comedy, and next minute we have way too much comedy, you know.
Yeah,
But
no.
wait 10 minutes. Oh, we don't have enough now, you know. So
Well, I,
I
I
don't know.
wish you the best with it, Don, and more importantly, I can't wait to see it in whatever format or
Yeah,
whatever streaming. So even if, regardless of the streaming channel or service that it's on, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I guess we can kind of keep track of things on your socials and website and things in,
sure,
in
sure, of
terms of
course, of
updates
course.
on that and things like
Yeah,
that. Okay. How about from a touring standpoint? What do you have coming up the rest of the year in terms of getting out there and clubs and things like that? Anything you can share there?
My schedule's pretty light right now. I'm getting ready to book a bunch of stuff. I really it's taken a lot of time to turn all my sites around and get
Hmm.
these clips up and learn, how to do it and everything. So I just basically focus on that and book my schedule a little bit lightly, to try and figure out where I want to go from here.
Okay.
And then but as stuff comes up, I'm gonna put it all on the site. So,
Okay.
and on
And I
social
think
media.
I can't help but think that the more content, and I kind of touched on it earlier, but the more content you continue to put out on social media and the more people get to see you, and like I said, whether they're discovering you or rediscovering you, I think that's going to really help catapult and accelerate whether it's the touring, the success of the new special. I just can't help but think that great things are coming, at you. They're going to be coming pretty quickly as
Thanks.
more people get to see it.
I appreciate it, Bill.
Yeah, and I know this. Like I'm going to make sure as many people as possible see this episode. And one of the things that folks we kind of talked about before we turned the camera on is that in the past I've shared some clips and different things like that with the episodes, but sometimes the Facebook copyright police and things like that make that
Right.
difficult. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll try it, and sometimes I'll just maybe put it at the end so that if they block it, we've already at least had our
Yeah, yeah,
conversation.
right. Yeah.
They don't block any of the fun stuff that we're talking about.
Don't mess up the rest of the episode.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, so I had a couple other questions for you, Don, for
Sure.
today.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe we can get back together again once things are all settled and the special is going to be released and we can you get some more tour dates and things like that. I'd love to do it again.
Absolutely.
Or if you're coming anywhere near Florida or back in the Northeast where my old stomping grounds, I'd love to
Yeah.
help promote any appearances in that area and also get a chance to meet you in person. So I'll throw that out there too.
Absolutely.
But the question for you is I have this segment and we kind of covered some of it already. I call it 3, 2, 1. And the
Okay.
three is what are three things you'd want people to know about you?
Three things. Three things about me. That's funny because I think that I don't know if I've ever narrowed it down. That's uh I'm good at improv. I'm good on the spot. No, geez, didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition. I,
Okay, we'll make it the
yeah.
one. We'll go from 3 to 1. What's the one thing you'd want people to know about you?
Uh, I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of it in person. Like, see, I'm an overthinker. So,
Ah,
and I guess that's a thing. But I'm just explaining to you why because I'm like, okay, is it something about should I do something about the career or do something about personally or um well so one thing that a lot of people of my fans don't know is I went through a divorce. And that's also addressed in my next special.
hmm,
And so now I'm, engaged again. Spoiler alert. And
congratulations.
thank you, appreciate. So now I'm back in it. I got an 8-year-old kid at home, which is, you know, my oldest son is 30 now, so I'm jumping back in. So I guess every 20 years or so, you have to like get it. You just like, you know what? I haven't had enough of this parenting thing. I'm just gonna dive back in the pool. Um,
Well, you want to stretch those college loans out a couple more decades, and,
yeah,
and
exactly.
maybe yours will be paid off before the last one.
I do want to. It's true. I want to be an American Ninja Warrior, but I'm working back up to it with my rebuilt Achilles.
Yeah,
Um,
how's that coming
I'm doing
along,
my
by the way? I know that can be a pretty brutal PT process.
yeah. It was. I'm done with the physical therapy. I'm just strengthening and stretching now.
Hmm.
But I'm actually training for my first triathlon in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's a little detour from the Ninja Warrior, but yeah, I don't know. I see challenges and I like challenges. It's
Wow. Well, that's now. Do
that's
you have to
one.
get cleared to do that with from
No,
the
I
doctors or
mean the
whatever?
doctor told me that, once I do the physical therapy and I
Okay.
should be able to resume everything.
Okay.
If I have any, weird feelings in my foot, then I'll go back to him. But
Okay. Well, I wish you all the best with that. That is definitely something that I would do it myself if it wasn't for all the running. Other than that,
yeah, yeah.
I would probably
And the
do it.
biking, right?
Yeah.
And the swimming sucks too. But other than that, those
Yeah.
triathlons, no, the
Well,
running is the worst.
yeah, for years I lifted weights. I would lift weights 5, 6 days a
Yeah,
week, and that was just so I didn't have to run. So that was
right,
always my thing. And I could do most of my exercises either sitting or laying down.
right.
So it
So three
worked out.
things. I'm training for a triathlon. I'm getting remarried, have a young kid at home, and I was supposed to be left-handed, and I was taught to throw right-handed.
Oh
So
wow.
there's three things.
Wow. Now
Yeah,
that's especially interesting, that last one. How about that? So,
yeah,
okay, well, the two we've actually kind of already covered because the two is what are two things that your fans can look forward to? And we talked about the new special when we talked about you're working on booking some tour dates, things like that.
yeah.
So we kind of covered that. So that brings me to the one. Now, if that three kind of stumped you, this one could, because this is one I ask of everyone. And
Okay,
sometimes there's long delays before the
okay,
response. So I'll give that to you, right, share that with
okay.
you right up front. If you look back, Don, over your career and everything you've accomplished and everything you've kind of been through,
Right.
what would you say you're most proud of?
Let me ask you this: is it a single thing, or is it broad? Or
It's however you want to answer it.
okay.
Because a lot of times it's not one single thing.
Um, boy, one I could give you the top three. I think winning the San Francisco comedy competition was probably the biggest at the time, but then also getting my Showtime special was huge. And yeah, I would like to think whatever that number one is, it's still ahead of me.
Ah, okay.
But God, there's been
There you go.
so many great moments. I just, and there's never one career defining. Some guys have the one break that really breaks them out. Maybe that's still coming. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've just done it the old way. I've hit every rung of the ladder three times, and I'm where I'm at now, which I'm very comfortable with. I would like it to be higher, but I'm also very
Mhm.
grateful that I've raised a family, bought a house in LA, from live performances. So
I think there's something to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for that, actually. And that kind of, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to add one more question then because it just popped into
all
my
right,
head as I'm listening to you say that.
go
What
ahead.
would you say would be your ultimate definition of success?
This is going to sound like I'm being philosophical, but I think success to me is in the journey.
Hmm. Okay.
Sounds like a cliche, but success is loving what you do, having a having a life that has some sort of balance. Um, make the fact that I can make good money and have a decent life
Yeah.
doing what I do is amazing. I never took that for granted. I never assumed that would be the case. I hoped. Um, um, but just continuing to be in the game and just keep, you know, being able to write new material and have new audiences find me and they laugh and we laugh. That's the success to me. It's
Yeah.
not any one, because anytime you achieve that thing you've gone for, a big goal, then immediately you savor it for like 5 minutes. You're like, okay, what's next? Now I'm not
Yeah.
successful because, I can't just sit here and lap it up forever. That was great, but now what? So
Yeah.
there's always there's always that next thing you have to shoot for. And having the thing to shoot for to me is, and striving for it is the success.
Wow.
Never giving up, never stopping, just continuing on.
Well, you just touched on two things, Don, that I think really add to that. One is the fact that you get to do what you love to do and make a
Right,
living doing it. I mean, to me, that's probably as close to, if not like, that would be my definition of success is like being able to
right,
get up every morning and loving what you do. And the
right.
part about enjoying the journey, you see it on bumper stickers, you see it on hats and t-shirts. But I
Yeah,
think if you can actually do it, and
right,
and not be so focused on the next step or the next accomplishment. If you can actually do it,
right,
that to me it probably is the ultimate success then because you're doing what you
right,
love to do and enjoying it every step of the way. I don't know how it can get any better.
right. I mean, my next rung, I always have a next rung, if you want to put it that way, is I want to be able to do, legit theater tours
Hmm,
where I have the cities stacked up and I want to perform in theaters. That's more my crowd than clubs.
hmm.
Not that I don't enjoy clubs, but yeah, so that's my next. But once I achieve that, if I achieve that, it'll be something else.
Yeah.
That's not going to be, no one thing is going to make me say, "Oh, I did it. I'm done."
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate your candor and honesty and sharing those things because I think that, in the years that I've been doing this, I think, one of the things when I ask questions about what would you want people to know about you, a lot of times I think it's how you answer certain questions that are going to give people insight as to who you are and how you are more so than anything else, like those last couple of questions. So I appreciate that. And I also appreciate you taking the time, Don, to join me today for your flexibility. And, we had to reschedule this because of some
Right.
situations with me and some medical situations. I didn't have an Achilles issue, but I had other
Also,
issues.
apparently the East Coast is in a different time zone.
Yeah,
I didn't, that
that only
explains all
happened.
those flights.
That only happens every time I have somebody on that's not on Eastern time. So it's all the
Right.
time. So whether it's Central time, Mountain time, Pacific, it happens all the time. But
Yeah.
the bottom line is we got it done. I've enjoyed every
Yeah.
minute of the conversation, already
Right.
looking forward to the next one. And I
Thanks.
also want to wish you all the best with the special. Like I said before, can't wait to see it. And also want to wish you all the best with the triathlon. I still think that's amazing coming off the
Oh, God.
injury,
I'm getting
that you
nervous.
had.
It's getting close.
Yeah, and everything you've got going on. I look forward to doing it again. And thanks again, Don, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You got it. And folks, thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll see you next time.